Yes, it is true. The Black Ace Hockey Podcast is back in action. My name is Blaine Adams. I'm right here as always with your co-host, Nick Jenkins. What's going on, man?
Not too much. Recovering from a long weekend. We were away in Notre Dame for the weekend at a hockey tournament. It's always a fun one. We actually competed pretty good. But
Nice.
you play a bunch of games, and we got stuck with the 7 a.m. slot on Saturday, so that's never easy.
Yeah.
But
I don't even know how, I ref some of these games where it's like 7 a.m. and 10U hockey. Like when I think back to me being 10, like Pee-wees, squirts, bantams, like, was I even awake for a 7 a.m. game? Like, I don't even know.
Right.
Like, and now you have like people out there trying to kill each other at 7, 8 a.m. I'm like, what is going on in that locker room to get these guys all wound up? But those games are the worst. Did you see Praying Jesus or Touchdown Jesus or whatever they call
Did not know. It was so cold. Normally when we go to this tournament, we do actually wander around a little bit.
Yeah.
It was so freaking cold. We're like just going directly from the hotel to the rink and nowhere else.
Strictly business. Just transactional.
Oh my god, it's so windy there too. It was like 20 degrees without the wind chill, and then you're like, this is brutal. It's like ripping through me.
That's insane. Yeah, those ones are tough. I think Lake Placid is another tough one. Where was like my favorite tournament? I think it was an inline tournament, and we went to San Jose for just a national tournament because I'm a national champion in inline hockey. Not a big deal. So outside of that, what else is going on? Any big life moves?
No, man, same old. Just out here grinding the workday away.
Yeah.
It's not too much to report at this point. What about
Fair
you?
enough.
What's new with you?
I finally got my TV up off the ground. That's about it. So and I got the couch conundrum here figured out. It's just a chair and a table. So that's about it for now.
You've got twice as much furniture this week as you had last week.
Right. It's just moved around in a specific order now. So that's about it. And as far as hockey news goes, light week this week since we got the recording in on Thursday to Tuesday. Not much really happened over the weekend. I was going to check if our writing on the wall picks won because I did not check that from the Saturday. All right. My stinker of a game, I picked did I pick Sabres? Crap, I did pick the Sabres over the Predators. That's a bummer. They stunk it up per usual against the Preds. So that's a 0-1 for me. And you picked the Blue Jackets over the Rangers, and they did lose, by the way.
It was a game, though.
And it was a game. It was close. But too many ovs on the Rangers, just Shreshurgeshin and people. So that was our writing on the wall picks this past week. I want to start with probably the college hockey updates, if you're ready for that, considering more of the NHL news is kind of headline based. So lead us off with your college hockey news, Jenks.
I'll pull up my notes here. So first things first, I know you've got a note to talk about this, so we might as well talk about it because it's college hockey. The Beanpot concluded over the weekend. BU wins the Beanpot once again. They seem to have dominated this tournament over, if I look at like the last 5 years, BU's got most of them. They've been really good. A lot of good names have come through there, and a 43 save performance in the title game.
How do you say that goalie's last name? Yegorov?
That's my best guess. So you
nailed it.
You nailed it. Nice. Good job.
All right.
Yeah, so BU wins the Beanpot. That's always a fun tournament. A lot of buzz around the Beanpot every year. It's probably like the best NCAA like in-season tournament, I would say.
Most well known for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So also we got the women's side of the game too. We were just talking about that before we hopped on here. The women's bean pot, Northeastern takes that this year. So congratulations to both of those teams. Couple other notes here. First things first, I will shout out the College Hockey News site, because they have fantastic statistics and information. If you're looking for more information on college hockey stuff, go to their website. And I was planning to say this before I even saw it on their website because I'm a Penn State fan. Penn State had a great weekend, swept Wisconsin. They've been a little bit streaky this year, but they finally jumped into the official rankings for the first time this season at number 18. So they seem to be trending up, which is great news. I'm obviously I'm excited about it. Great news for the team. We've talked about their young star and Aiden Fink on that team, who's been around the top 5 in points all season long, and he looks like a really promising prospect. So that's fantastic for them. The only other thing I got is, we're not going to talk through all the specifics because, we've talked about this earlier in the season, and there's continued, I'll say continued news every week on this. There's more and more players committing from like the OHL to college hockey teams. That being in Erie, one of the Otters is already committed to Notre Dame. And then I saw over the weekend there was another player in the OHL committed to Notre Dame, and then somebody else had committed to, I believe it was Northeastern actually. So just continuing to see the benefits of this. I think, we were having a conversation. This is sort of relevant. I'm curious what your thoughts are. We were having a conversation over the weekend when we were away at the hockey tournament, sort of about like the college hockey landscape and how this is going to change. And I know we've sort of touched on this before too. And, we brought up that the USHL teams are trying to get into the OHL now. And, what does the future look like between that relationship of juniors versus college? I think what we're seeing here is probably, next year it's going to be more competitive to get onto a college team.
Right. 100%.
So if you're one of those guys who went to the USHL, like because you're like, okay, I can go the college route and I won't have to worry about all the CHL competition.
Right.
I don't know. Are there going to be players in the USHL who jump to like an OHL team if they've got a tender there? Or are there going to be players who might look to get into college earlier, knowing that there's these players from the OHL who have committed? I think we're going to see a huge roster turnover for a lot of these, at least the big schools next year, where people are going to be fighting for spots and they're probably going to jump sooner than later to lock in that spot. I don't know if that makes sense to you or how you feel.
Yeah, I think when I look at juniors, I look at what is the fastest route to get to where you're going, right? So like if you're a smaller, more talented guy, I think you go to the OHL. I think if you're a big physical forward or big like physical D man, you go USHL, develop your skills like like hand-eye, stick handling, stuff like that, and then it'll be easier for you to go that way. So I think each league has its benefits. Like OHL is nowhere even close to the heaviness and physicality aspect of what the NCAA is and what the USHL is. So if you're, maybe that more talented player, you can stick out more in the OHL. Whereas in the USHL, you might get pummeled because you're going to get beat up and hurt. So I think each aspects have different usability, or not usability, freaking what's it called? There's a word that says, to go, like you're the different tracks to get to where you need to be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I want to see in 10 years what the stats say. Like we're seeing this with Connor Bedard. Like he said in the um those interviews with the back and forth with Biz, like
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing that sometimes just because you have a ton of skill doesn't mean you're going to be great in the NHL. It doesn't translate that well. So you need to be big, you need to be physical, you need to be strong on your skates, like stuff like that. I think is more important. Now it's starting to switch back into like maybe the early 2000s era hockey where yeah, we want bigger guys, we want strong guys because when it comes in the playoffs and you're up against the Chuck boys, they're going to beat your face in. So
Mm-hmm.
we need guys that can withstand and last the whole way. So I don't know. It's a nice question. I think.
So I'm wondering if as more and more of these players commit to teams, I think there's always been this sort of subset of teams who are good year after year,
Mm-hmm.
the Michigans of the world, the BUs of the world. I wonder if we're going to see some of these other teams who have been like borderline, they have good years and bad years, teams like Providence, teams like Northeastern, where they're very up and down. I wonder if we're going to see some staying power from them, get some commitments from a lot of CHL guys who are looking for their shot, who aren't like these blue chip prospects that
Right.
the other schools get, and now all of a sudden they're competitive. So could be interesting. We could see a dynamic shift in
Right.
the balance of power in the NCAA.
Right. And I think it kind of goes into what the NF or NCAA football is dealing with now, where like you have GMs like in college football now, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
the NIL salary cap, you in
Yep.
quotes. And I think with the open doorness of the CHL, in order to recruit these guys, you're gonna have to have scouts, right? Like I get it, Boston, BC, they have scouts already that go around the United States, go around Russia, but like Canada was always off limits, right? The whole those leagues were always off limits. So I wonder, are we going to see an increase of scouting? Does this add in an extra layer of maybe scouting gets better overall? Like, if we're developing more players in the lower levels, maybe we don't have to dedicate a ton of time to the OHL because they're already going to go into the NCAA. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe we just look for the good guys like the Connor Bedards, the Gavin McKennas, and then say
Mm-hmm.
we'll catch the other guys in NCAA. So
Yep.
maybe it's a better path. I think the NCAA right now is the standard for the NHL. I think that's the next step because it's like so hard nosed more than OHL. Like, yeah, they get to wear visors, woohoo. But the money makers where it's at. Cole Hudson, he doesn't get to bust his teeth up when he's celebrating his OT game winners or putting Boston up 3-1. He doesn't get his teeth jammed in. So yeah, we'll see. I think it's going to be interesting the next like 10 years. You see where the leagues go with it, but maybe they'll have farm college teams. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be fun. Um, but let's jump over to the NHL stuff. A couple news points that came up this past weekend. I think we got a real clear picture of where the NHL is going as far as the salary cap. Gary Bettman and the NHL kind of released what their target goals are, and it's actually very nice to see. Maybe we'll see super teams coming in the future with the salary cap, moving up like a ton. What is it? A couple million a year?
Yeah, it's supposed to. So I think I'm going to confirm this so that I don't misspeak. But I think what we're at this year is we're at 88 million. Okay, so we're at 88 million this season. They were projecting that the salary cap could increase 7.5 million for next season, an additional 8.5 million for 26-27, and then 9.5 million for the 27-28 season.
Nice.
So you're basically talking about the salary cap going up almost $40 million over the next 3 seasons, which is just insane. Which I think it's time. I know the budgets were tight there from the COVID season where they didn't have all that money coming in from fans in the buildings and that type of thing. But you look at some of these contracts that players are signing in other sports. Yeah. Baseball is the worst example because they have no salary cap, but even in the NFL, I mean, these guys are signing hundreds of millions of dollars in their contracts. Like quarterbacks are getting like $150 million guaranteed over 4 years. That's insane. Yeah. And you're thinking the best player in the NHL is making what, 15 million right now. So it just doesn't compare. But it's definitely an opportunity for another change in the balance of power. I think we're going to see some of these teams. I think about the Penguins. We talk about the Penguins a lot. They're in a situation.
Boys, we're allowed to.
Because yeah, we're 100% allowed to. This is our podcast. We can do whatever we want.
Right.
They have an opportunity here to really take a shot with Crosby left because they've got a lot of expiring contracts over the next couple of years. Crosby's on a great team-friendly deal because he's the best.
Right.
Malkin's contract isn't horrible, especially looking at these projected numbers if these remain true. And then you've got Letang under a friendly deal, and Carlson's contract hurts, but if you can piece him with somebody defensive, I don't know. We'll see what we can do, but just consider how much cap space the Penguins are going to have. They can really go out there and say, we've got 2 more years with Sid. We're going to go pay some high-end free agents a ridiculous amount of money on like 1 or 2 year deals, and we're just going to go for it. And then when everybody expires, we restart. We start from zero. We start drafting. We start signing young guys. We've got money to work with, but it gives them an opportunity that they didn't really have under the current cap structure because they're so tight to the cap.
Yeah, I agree everything you say, and maybe we'll avoid things like Jeremy Swayman, having to go back and forth over $500,000. Be like Boston could just give him it, and avoid people like who was the big one that just left, like Stammer leaving. Like maybe they say, hey, we found an extra $8 million. We can keep you around and also have enough money for the young guys. Jake Gensel, like people like that, teams will be able to keep that they actually like instead of having to go out and get some draft picks because they can't keep him around. So yeah, I think it's beneficial for the NHL and to kind of keep up with pace. Everybody, when you think of the NHL, you kind of think of more humble guys. For the most part, there are outliers out there that are just absolute wackos. But you think they're going to take less because they actually want to win the cup or win the trophy at the end. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and let the players get the guap that they want. And speaking of guap, Ovi counter is back on. He's under 15 now. This guy is, it's inevitable at this point. This guy is absolutely Thanos out there. And he gets, a week and a half off for the 4 Nations? Just to sit at home and drink Diet Coke or Dr. Pepper? Like, this guy is a freak, man. It's just fun to watch right now.
I find myself, like, when the Caps are on, I find myself, like, at least checking the score, if not turning the game on just to see if he does get one. Right. He seems to be scoring often. And if he can keep scoring it, just say he scores like every other game for the rest of the year, he's going to be right at that line of did he break it or not. I mean, it's very doable at this point.
I always think like we're sitting through greatness. All those years of hating on him, and now he got the cup that he needed, and maybe this year his team makes a run at it again for his final season. I think if he breaks the record and wins the cup, it's his last season for sure. I would put hard earned money on that, but if his team's good enough for next year, I think he'll definitely hang around. But I think this record he really wants more than anything right now, and he plays that way. So I guess our biggest talking point of today is, the Four Nations are right around the corner, and we made our picks last podcast, but there's still some unknowns going in as players were dropping in, dropping out, and changing. Crosby has been confirmed by everybody and by himself to be playing in the Four Nations, which makes Canada's power play, quite honestly, stupid. It's ridiculous. You just look at those names: Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon. Yikes.
Yep.
Oh, Makar on the back end, and who was the other D man or the other D pair there?
Jeez, what you pick any of them? They can all be on that power play.
Like dude, it was freaking crazy. And then Marchand was like, I don't know, just put everybody in the net and hope and pray that the puck doesn't go in.
Yeah,
dude, that's a scary lineup. I'll tell you what, if I thought Malkin, Crosby, Carlson, Letang was scary, like even though they couldn't put the puck in the back of the net to save their life, this power play is even worse.
If you're playing Team Canada, you better not take any penalties, because that's like a guaranteed goal every time.
Yep. And the kind of like build up to this is so much better than I think the NHL has done anything in the recent years. So much better than the Winter Classic build-ups in the last couple of years, the Stadium Series, like even the All-Star game. Like it's just, I think, a lot better hype and intensity because the players want to do it too. It's not just like, oh, I'll cancel my Mexico trip that I was going to take with my family. Like I'll come to a freaking All-Star game and sit on a freaking folding table out there and let my name be announced. Oh, but yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm pretty pumped to watch it. What is it? Somebody plays today, actually. I think it's Canada.
Not today, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Wednesday, February 12th. Yeah, well, it's going to be today when this comes out. Canada versus Sweden.
Yes.
Right. Hey, I was just Nostradamusing.
Right.
But I don't like.
You're on it.
It's one game. Like, that's it for the day. Like, what are they going to do the rest of the day? It's going to be interesting to watch and then it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday break, and then both teams play on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And then we're breaking again for a while. Like, I don't know. See, this is what I mean by, like, there's 4 teams is just too little. Like, there's not enough, like, action going on. So I'm interested to see how they fill those gaps and what they do with the time that they have.
Yeah, I think this is so hyped. And you said it too, right? They've done a great job advertising this. Everybody's been anticipating this for so long because we've been, starved of this best on best competition. Everybody wants international play. And for sure, I think we would like there to be more countries represented at this tournament. Yeah. This is sort of like the first version of it. And I think they've sort of indicated without flat out saying it that they intend to make this a bigger thing in the future. I think they've already got this planned for a repeat in 2028. And they're talking about which additional countries they're going to add to this. Maybe by then things have been proved with Russia, and we can see the elite Russian players get represented. Certainly we can look to see some countries like Germany and Slovakia and those other teams, Switzerland, those teams be represented as well.
Switzerland. Who's in the NHL from Switzerland?
There's a few players that you wouldn't realize. Kevin Fiala is Swiss.
Who?
Kevin Fiala.
Who?
Never mind.
Yikes. Oh my god. That's the name you rattled off real quick? Switzerland?
He's. It was the first
Not
one
like
that came to
Latvia
mind.
or like Yugoslavia. Like you pick Switzerland?
Hey, Latvia's a great point.
I know. That's
They
why I
are up
rattled it
and
off. It was
coming.
off the dome.
They've got some great young players there, and they keep knocking off Canada at the juniors. So Latvia is going to be a powerhouse like
Next up is
tomorrow.
Kazakhstan. They're coming up. Christ,
But
Canada, get it together.
yeah, so yeah, I think this will be like a great first pass at it. They'll definitely take away some positives and negatives from how this tournament runs and stuff, make improvements, and then we'll see hopefully a bigger representation at the 2028 version.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped to see what comes of it, and if it's anything like the previous one, the World Cup of
Mhm.
hockey. I think it's going to be a success for everybody involved, and maybe get Crosby to not go to Big Sky, Montana every year. That'd be nice. But yeah, I mean, as far as hockey goes, that's pretty much it. And I saw something today, actually. The Four Nations released the championship crown, the crown jewel of the tournament, the trophy.
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna lie, Jenks. We were talking about this before we started. I kind of like it, and I want to hear what your thought. Are they gonna engrave the names on the cup? You think, or just
Ooh,
the team
that would be
name?
kind of cool. I don't know. I don't know that they'll do like the cup isn't set up like the Stanley Cup, right? I don't
Right.
think they have all the space to engrave all the individual names. Um, but certainly, I would love to see it if they would say we're gonna keep this as an ongoing thing, and we'll engrave the country that wins every year, and just pass it around. I think the
You think
trophy
they'll
looks
hand out
awesome.
like little like miniature participation trophies to the second place guys?
Probably not. I hope there aren't participation trophies, man. That participation second place trophy crap
That's the worst. It
these
hurts
days.
every time.
Like, oh, we got to get something. We played so hard. No, you
It
didn't
goes into
win.
the
Go
box
sit,
underneath 12 rows of boxes in the basement. Yeah.
go sit there and think about winning it next time
Yeah,
because you didn't
exactly.
win. You don't get a
Embrace the
participation trophy.
suck. Embrace the
Yes.
suck. Like Canada,
Yep.
embrace being bad and be better. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. That's all you can do. Um,
100%.
not the Canadian professionals, the Canadian juniors. There's a difference. Um, but yeah, the cup would be nice. Anything really engraved or plaques like you do with the fantasy hockey league, where you
Mm-hmm.
add like a little like name tag of the team. I think that adds like a little extra oomph to whatever. So I think that'll be nice. And as far as hockey goes, guys, yeah, that was about it for this week. Other than teams playing and teams winning and teams scoring. Trevor Zegras and Leo Carlson had some of the nastiest shootout goals that I've seen this year, and I think the way Zegras was just like controller unplugged, hit the top of the circles, just turned on the afterburners. Like that's a tough move because I'm sure goalies are like trying to adjust real quick and they just
Right.
can't get that down. And Leo Carlson, little and then in the back of the net. So yeah, those are some cool goals. And outside of that, Jenks, do you have any other NHL news that you want to pop up for us?
No, nothing in particular. I think next week expect a pod again. We'll cover anything breaking through the Four Nations, but also we're at a good break in the season, which is typically the All Star break, and
Which
we've
is
got a
usually
pretty
when
good.
Crosby's like, "Hey, boys, I got a light bill to pay. Let's go."
Crosby's going to come back from this thing and turn it up, and the Pens are going to make a push. You
Yep,
can count on it.
usually happens. Always
Um,
does.
So we'll have a little bit of fun next week. We'll cover anything from the Four Nations. It won't be done yet, but I'm sure there will be some takeaways, and then we'll do like our All Star break predictions. We'll call them, and we'll see. We made some preseason predictions for like NHL awards and which team we thought was going to win the cup, and we'll talk through a little bit of how we think those go and what we think um, what we think based on how the season has progressed so far.
Yeah.
If we feel differently about any of those players or any of these teams, and um, yeah, we'll just talk through where we think we are in the season and how we think the season's going to finish out, and go from there.
Yep. One last thing I wanted to point out. I see a little note on my notepad here. The Hobie Baker winner, Jenks.
Mm.
Not a lot of people know a lot of big names in college hockey, but I think there's a few to at least highlight in who
Mm-hmm.
you think is going to be winning the next Hobie Baker Award. So I wanted to hand it over to you and give us your take on it.
Yeah, it's always tough. Depending on where you look and how people evaluate players, it, it can be a little bit different. Um, I'll say it's tough for goaltenders to win this award. Um,
Well,
just
they have their own
because
awards, so it's like
they do have
why
their
give
own
it to
award.
two?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But there are a couple of goaltenders having a fantastic season. So just to shout those guys out really quick. I mean, we're talking about Michigan. Sorry, not Michigan. Minnesota State's goaltender Alex Tracy, having a fantastic season. The best goals against average and save percentage. Well, one of the top save percentages, but he's played 30 games and has won 20 of those 30 games with a 941 and a 1.53. The other one I want to shout out is Jacob Fowler from Boston College. He's played 25 games and has won 19 of them. 936 save percentage and 172. So those guys are having terrific seasons, among a couple of other guys. But if I got to pick a Hobie Baker winner, there's a ton of good names. A lot of the preseason favorites are guys that are already drafted. Look at the list. It's like Jimmy Snuggerud from Minnesota or Gabe Perreault from Boston College. The homer in me wants to shout out again Aiden Fink from Penn State, who is just having an electric season. Best points per game in college hockey. He's got 41 points through 28 games. But I think the best individual player to me so far through this entire season is Isaac Howard from Michigan State. He's currently first in points in the NCAA. Has a really, really good shooting percentage, stays out of the box, contributes all over the ice. This guy, when you see him on the ice, he's a difference maker for them every night. And of course, it helps to be leading the nation in points for sure, but I think he has so many intangibles too. He just gets it done. I watched the Michigan game a little bit over the weekend, and it was like, man, who is that guy? And then once I figured out who it was due to the poor quality of NCAA video, I said that makes a lot of sense. That guy's really freaking good.
So you think he would be over like James Hagens?
Yes.
Okay.
Hagens is the favorite, well, one of the favorites to be drafted first overall this year. But he's not having, I'll say, the standout season that you might expect from a first overall player, which is why there's been a little bit of back and forth about who is the true first overall pick. I think Hagens is going to go top 3 for sure. There's no question about that. But it's not like in the past where we've seen, like Bedard, everybody's like, he is number 1. There's no question about it. This year, there's a little bit of like,
so you think it's kind of like a Jack Eichel McDavid sort of thing?
Oh, no, not at all. McDavid was the
but like people were like, dude, like I don't know, like Buffalo celebrated getting Jack Eichel. They're like, yeah, like we freaking got him, Or like look at Capo Crapo and Jack Hughes. Like a lot of debate over those two.
That one's different. But the McDavid one was like such a weird one because McDavid was going first. There's no question about it.
Right.
But I feel like Eichel, if he was in any other draft, he would have been the first overall pick. He just happened to be the same year as McDavid.
McDavid broke his hand at the end of the season. So it's like,
Yeah.
How long is he going to be out? Is the hand going to recover? What an idiot move. Idiot fighting.
Punch the
Clown.
boys.
Clown. Jesus.
Hagens is a great player for sure, but I don't think he's in that conversation for the best player in college hockey this year.
Okay.
And give him credit too. He's one of the youngest guys in college hockey too.
Yeah.
So you can't expect him to come out and automatically lead the nation in points and be be the guy. So
yeah, I think as college hockey starts to grow and the NIL starts to kind of kick in a little more and more, I want to see if the Hobie Baker kind of leans towards like the more famous quote unquote people, like if Trevor Zegras, like style, and like kind of Jack Hughes, like he was there, and like would his like ability to he does all those interviews after the games and they're always fun to listen to, so it's like I wonder if like that aspect kind of wanders into the Hobie Baker a little bit in the future, because not like at the end of the day, NCAA is a business, right? So like I wonder if you give it to somebody just because like they're good, that has to be number one criteria, and two, that they're like a fan favorite, like hey, like this guy's good and awesome. So I want to see if that starts to affect things moving forward as the NCAA kind of puts themselves apart from all the rest of the junior leagues. So it'll be interesting. Any last word? We're gonna skip writing on the wall this week because we already gave our winners for the Four Nations, and doesn't seem right to always pick the United States of freaking America. So we're gonna skip this week and see everybody next week for a fun podcast full of predictions. It's where me and Jenks make our money and pay our lights. So any last words for the people, Jenks?
Nothing to report today here. It's we've got a lot of hockey left to go here. I'm starting to get really excited for some playoff hockey. I know we've got about 2 months to go until the playoffs kick off, but that East Coast race is going to be really fun to watch. The race for the wild card spots in the Eastern Conference, everybody's within like 6 points. Like the whole conference is within like 6 points. Right. So lots of fun hockey coming up.
And that's going to be it for us, guys. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube at Black Aces Hockey. And we'll see you next time. My name is Blaine Adams, and I'm right here as always with your co-host, Nick Jenkins. We're out of here. Later.